dissed the tush push and talked about the Cowboys' struggle in the playoffs. Take a listen.
I can't lie, like, when you put a lot into the game and you put a lot into, like, what you want to be and how you want to be, obviously when the outcome doesn't reach of what your
Looks like the people from Dune right now.
expectations is, it's frustrating.
Tell me about it.
And it's demoralizing and not how I wanted my season to end. I did think it was our year, and for some reason we just didn't put it together. And but it's hard to get on top of the hill.
Okay, Bruce said it was demoralizing. Yesterday, you took a lot of flack because you said...
I got to say something real fast. I'm going to obviously let this play, but this is where Micah just talks out of both sides of his mouth, like every 5 seconds. And this is where he just needs to talk less. Because earlier in the season, he said, we are as good as anyone. We got this. We can compete with anyone, which, maybe he believed. Then they lost, he said, he called out Dallas, essentially. He called out the front office and said, they better get us help. They better make moves. Like, he literally said that, like, I forget exactly when, but it was, not too shortly after, the end of their season. It might have been after the Super Bowl, I'm not sure. But he absolutely straight up was like, Dallas better make moves and get us some help, which I called out. And, now he's saying, I thought I thought this was our time. So it's like, so which is it? You either know your team's not good enough, or you know what I mean? Like you either know your team's not good enough or you don't. Like, I don't think you're fooled. I don't think at one point you believe you're great and then you realize you're not. I mean, I know that's technically possible, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're so confident before that you were good enough and then you lost and now you're like, well, we need more help. Is it because you reached the conclusion that you didn't have enough pieces, or that your team was just not good enough? And if your team was just not good enough, then you have to admit that you were wrong earlier, which therefore you then have to admit that you're wrong about a lot of other things potentially, because you were so confident before that you had what it takes, that you were a good enough team. And it's weird because Micah also has said, I've already learned everything that I need. There's nothing that I haven't learned already in the NFL. Like, he literally said that he's like, there's nothing else for me to learn. I feel like I've seen everything. And it's like, well, then this is just proof that you haven't, that you're literally still being surprised. And that is my biggest problem with Micah. And you guys will hear me talk about this a lot as I keep talking about these young quarterbacks up and coming, where I'm saying humility matters so much. Your willingness to learn and grow matters so much. And it's not clear to me that Micah has that. And that is really tough when that is the leader of your team. It really is. And it hurts too, I think, as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Like, I'm all for living your life and doing your own thing, but it's really hard when you have a guy saying, we can do this, and then you guys get smoked. You individually don't play well, and then you're like calling out Dallas, and then you're talking about, oh my God, the Eagles had such a great draft. How do they keep doing this? And then I'm taking ice baths with Kevin Hart. I'm just like, what are you doing? It's just like, can I just see less of you? Can I just hear less of you? Can you just stop already? And I think it's a problem. All those things are great when you're winning. When you're not winning or you fail to meet expectations, then it's really like you just look silly. There's a reason why you don't see Baker Mayfield in those commercials anymore, because he wasn't winning, and so you just look silly.
Nick said that the Eagles were still in a supernatural funk, and what did they do? And then Micah came on and admitted that he was demoralized by the loss.
That's not, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just giving the backstory.
He said the loss was demoralizing. He didn't say, I am demoralized.
What does that mean? If I say I'm freezing, I think it's
right. But if I said, hey, how was the parade 2 years ago, and you said it was freezing, it doesn't mean you're freezing today. It means that was freezing. You gave a perfect example of what it was. That was demoralizing. Does not mean I'm constantly
demoralizing stays with you.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Brew? I don't know the question because I was just trying to set you up there. Do you think Dallas gets over the hump this year, even though they're currently demoralized?
That is not what he said.
I got to side with Nick.
Thank you, bro.
Wild's been clearly playing dirty pool with the demoralizing. I mean, now, let me answer your question.
Watch, I bet he comes back around.
No. I mean, is there any reason? There was more reason to think last year they were going to get over the hump than this year. It's been, by even Nick's estimation, a bad offseason. Your quarterback's uncertain. Your top wide receiver, at least to this point, is disappointed. Your offensive line is not as experienced as it was before.
Got a running back?
What reason? And Nick, a first place schedule. Yeah. So look at the games they play. They're playing AFC North. Oh, that's Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Those are going to be tough games. Mm-hmm. They're out of this division game. San Francisco, Atlanta, they should beat Atlanta and Tampa, but still, they might lose one of those. Houston and Detroit. Like, it's going to be a tough
Eagles
schedule.
Twice.
The division, I don't think is going to be as good. It's going to be them in Philly. But that's a tough schedule.
Most likely.
The only thing I would say about the schedule is it's the same schedule the Eagles have with the exception of the 3 strength of schedule games. So one of them's San Francisco, but that means then Philly has the Rams. If one of them's Detroit, then Philly has Green Bay.
You get the second place.
You're right. And those teams were both playoff teams and good. But
the Eagles are a better team.
There's no reason to believe the Cowboys will be better this year than they were last year. That part's true. As of now, and so like what Bruce said is correct. There was, I felt, obviously, real reason to believe that last year they were better than the year before and that they could potentially get over the hump. This year, the only glass quarter full I'm going to pretend is more full looking at it is if there is a similar to, drafting Jordan Love got the most out of Aaron Rodgers type of thing with Dak Prescott in the contract. That's the only.
Here's the only
I'm not
problem.
a big believer in that, but you
No, it's motivation.
Yes.
But here's my only argument against that. I think Dak, I don't think it doesn't need the run game, like a Mahomes type or that level. I think he needs the run game to bolster his passing game, and they're not going to have that unless you think Zeke's about to turn back the clock, which I know you don't.
No, I don't. I also just think you can just have a running game. I know you said that.
But he's not that level of quarterback.
It hasn't happened. What do you mean? You said like, they can just grab a running back. I'm saying that I think in the NFL.
Okay, he thinks that you can just grab any old running back, which we've now been over in multiple videos. If you were watching this video right now, that means I had already posted this other video with regards to his whole thing about how you can just get running backs anywhere, and it's apparently really, really easy. So therefore, I don't know why you're ever paying any running back anything more than the league minimum, because it's just so easy. Just grab them. You can just grab them anywhere and you'll be fine. So here's the thing. This idea that Dak is going to be extra motivated and that he's going to play somehow better than he has in the past with a worse team than he's had in the past, while he's older and technically, less mobile, a little bit less mobile. He's older, it's understandable, and a little bit more injured as injuries pile up, is just insane to me. We know who Dak Prescott is. We know who he is. He's not a terrible quarterback. He's not a trash quarterback. He has games where he plays great. He has games where you go, oh my God. He has plays where you're like, that's Patrick Mahomes. But he is just a good quarterback. That is who he is. Okay? He has moments where you're like, how is this guy even in the league? He's so bad. What were you thinking? He's a little bit of everything. He's a really good quarterback. He's not great. He's not elite. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not capable of doing that. And he's never shown to be able to do these amazing elite things when it matters most. Which is why I even put Jalen Hurts above Dak Prescott. Only because, not because I think Jalen Hurts is just as bona fide, above and beyond better quarterback, but Jalen Hurts has at least proven that he can come up big in big moments, which he did in the Super Bowl. I understand they lost, but I will take his performance in the Super Bowl any day of the week. Statistically, it was the second best performance in the Super Bowl since Pro Football Focus was keeping track of it since like 2004 or whatever year it was. So I will take that. Dak has never proven to be able to do that. Now, a lot of people say that Dak chokes. I do not think Dak chokes. People keep saying, Dak's so scared, he can't handle the moment. I don't actually think it's that. I think that's unnecessary criticism. So before people say that I'm just being a hater of Dak or a homer for Jalen Hurts, like that, I'm going to be defending Dak now in this part. Dak is just not good enough to come up big consistently enough in these big moments against the best competition. It's not that he chokes. It's not that he is truly this elite. And then when the lights get bright, he just can't do it and he starts to shiver and he's all afraid and he's like, no, I can't do it. That's what choking is. It's I'm actually unbelievable and amazing, but I can't handle the pressure of the moment. That's not what happens to Dak. I know sometimes his face looks like it because his eyes get so wide, and it does. It definitely does, even on TV. Sometimes look like his eyes get so wide where he's just like, oh my God, like he looks shell-shocked. But I really don't think that that's what it is. I do trust in his ability to come up and do big moments. I really do. Because he's done it enough for me, and obviously maybe not playoff moments necessarily, but against the Eagles especially. And those are always big, intense moments in hostile environments, whether it's your own home crowd, which you feel the pressure of them, or doing it in Philly. And he always plays good there. But he does struggle against good teams with winning records. That's been consistent for him. And it's not just his team. It's not just his coaching. It's not the defense. It's not the O-line. It's not those things. It's just who he is as a quarterback. And you know what? That's okay too. It's okay to say that he needs a great team around him in order to be successful, or he needs to have a great coach. I think that about a lot of quarterbacks. I've said that I think Josh Allen would be an even better quarterback if he had a better team around him, and that he needs a better coach. I've said that again and again and again, and I've said that Patrick Mahomes has benefited. I guess I'll just have to say this until Patrick Mahomes retires, and then even then some. Patrick Mahomes has benefited from Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, a great defense, all of those things. But the difference is that when those players don't have that, they can put the team on their back. They can overcome some of the weaknesses and liabilities that the team has. Whether it is Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Joe Burrow had a terrible offensive line, and yet he still made it to the Super Bowl, right? Patrick Mahomes didn't have a very potent offense this last season, but when you had you gotta have it, he had it. Those are the differences. Josh Allen overcame having a fired OC, which is essentially when you have a defensive head coach, it's like having your head coach fired in the middle of the season. And yet he was able to will that team into the playoffs. And big moments too. You got to really watch the games to see the individual moments when he puts that team on his back. When they needed to get a first down against the Miami Dolphins, he literally just took it himself. That was Josh Allen just being a physical freak. Those are the things that Dak Prescott can't do. And a lot of times in the playoffs, you need those moments. You need the Patrick Mahomes to make that perfect play, that perfect throw against the Ravens to ice the game, to say game, set, match, goodbye. It was a perfect play call by Andy Reid, but you needed the perfect throw as well from Patrick Mahomes. Those are the differences. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl, he needed to get a touchdown. He needed to get the 2-point conversion. He did it himself. It wasn't the tush push. It wasn't just, anyone could do that. That was all Jalen Hurts willing it. Also getting all of these first downs, converting all these third downs. I think it was like the record for most third down conversions. It was him doing it. Go watch highlights of Jalen Hurts of that Super Bowl. It wasn't him just taking advantage of just a perfect pocket and him throwing open to wide open receivers. It was him overcoming, what needed to be done in that moment. And you just don't see that in Dak. The last time I saw that was against the Eagles, and he threw the ball an inch too short. And then they didn't score the touchdown. He stepped out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. And they lost the game against the Eagles. And it was a game that they definitely could have won. The whole thing with the playoffs before, I don't know if it was the playoffs before that or before that, when they ran out of time. I understand people had an issue with the play call, but if he just stopped a second earlier, he would have been able to get it and get another playoff. But he didn't. He always just comes up too short. He just doesn't have that little extra oomph. And again, that's okay. But you have to recognize that, though, and as a player and as a franchise. You have to get beyond all of this hype and this fandom and the hate too. The people that say he's garbage, get rid of him. And also the people that say he's amazing, pay him $500 million a year. It's always somewhere in the middle. Dak could be wildly successful. Dak could thrive in a Super Bowl. I do believe that. But he needs a team like the 49ers. He needs a head coach like an Andy Reid. He needs a Sean McVay. He needs to have an OBJ and a Cup and Donald. He needs all of these things. He needs a complete team start to finish. That's not looking to him and saying, guide us, get us over the hump. So I just think that it's a shame that quarterbacks automatically feel entitled that when they're up for a contract, they should automatically reset the market, no matter what, whether you're winning Super Bowls or not. The fact of the matter is that people expect that whether Patrick Mahomes, this is the way it's seen, is that if you're Patrick Mahomes and you're up for a new contract, you reset the market. And if you're Tua or Dak Prescott and you're up for a contract the following year, you're now expected to reset that market and make even more money. And it just does not make sense. You do not deserve the same experience of Patrick Mahomes when you are nowhere near as good as Patrick Mahomes. And to me, that is a fundamental issue within the NFL right now and quarterback play, is this constant obsession of go higher, go higher, go higher, go higher, go higher. And it's like that with a lot of positions. But the truth is, in a lot of these other positions, at least it kind of makes sense. Because you have these wide receivers or, whatever, pass rushers that are getting better and better and better and that are pushing, the bar higher and higher and higher. That's not necessarily happening with quarterback play, at least with some of the contracts that have been up. Jalen Hurts is up for a new contract. And again, I said that I think that Jalen Hurts has some extra. I think Dak could potentially be a more consistent player, but I really want to see Jalen Hurts play another year before I make any definitive statements. But I just don't think, when Brock Purdy's up for a new, when he's up for his first real contract, it's like, does he deserve to reset the market? It's just, I just think this whole idea that these guys just always are just guaranteed to make all this money seems a little absurd to me, because I just don't think it's actually rooted in reality. Because that's a conversation that people are having right now, is like, how much money should Tua get? And Tua reportedly wants to reset the market. He wants the maximum amount of money that he could possibly get. And it's like, so you're telling me that if both you and Patrick Mahomes were both up for the contract for a new contract this season, and Dak, all three of you should essentially be getting paid around the same amount of money? That doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. So I think Dallas will not get over the hump. I think this idea that Dak is going to magically be even better than he has in the past after all these years with a worse team, I just don't get it. I really, really don't. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Dallas has what it takes to get over the hump? And do you think Dak is going to have the incentive to play really good and he's going to ball out? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.